The reality of it is that our athletes are at a greater risk for developing eating disorder behaviors or a full blown eating disorder than individuals in the general population. And there's a few reasons for this. So, some of the reasons include that athletes just have a very high caloric demand. So sometimes this means that our athletes need to be doing things like counting calories or assessing their macronutrient distribution in order to enhance their sports performance. Well, these things might seem normal and they actually might be normal. What can happen is that the athlete might become hyper focused on these certain standards and begin to become obsessive about these things, such as I can only allow so many calories from each food group in order to sustain my maximum sports performance. So, anytime that we're so hyper focused on these attributes, we run the risk of developing disordered eating patterns. Another reason that an athlete might develop disordered eating behaviors is because it just takes a lot of energy and food to sustain the level of performance that an athlete is undergoing on a daily basis. So, an athlete is often facing things like very intense workouts daily in order to train for their sport, and they are having to fuel at a very high level. So if they are not prepared appropriately by meal prepping, getting the right foods, having the time to consume those foods and prep those foods, then that athlete may unintentionally develop an eating disorder. Other reasons that an athlete might develop an eating disorder include that there is often a high aesthetic value placed on certain types of sports. So, for example, if you see an athlete that is a dancer, a cheerleader, a gymnast, there is a high aesthetic value to that sport. And so, while that athlete is required to maintain a very high energy level to perform in their sport, they are also encouraged to cut down body fat mass and therefore may develop disordered relationship with food in order to maintain a very slim physique. In addition to this, a lot of malnourishment or symptoms of malnourishment are often seen as just part of the sport when it comes to assessing whether an athlete is properly nourished. So, for example, if a woman loses their period as a part of sports performance, the age old tale is that, hey, a woman is going to lose their period just because they are heavily engaged in physical activity. However, it's quite the opposite. The woman is losing their period because they are undernourished, and therefore they should be encouraged to properly fuel their body to meet the needs of their sport rather than simply dismissing this as a symptom of the sport itself. So, lots of misconceptions around what is normal eating behavior when it comes to an athlete. And this can place our athletes at a very high risk of developing disordered eating behaviors or a full blown eating disorder.